In this video, I'm going to review how to change color or add color to a photograph using Adobe Photoshop CS6. So what I'm going to do first is a simple method, a quick method, an easy method to adjust color, to add color to an image. And then I'm going to show a little bit more advanced technique. The advanced technique is an advantage because you can really get the colors you want with the advanced technique. The simple technique doesn't give you full control over your choice of colors. So here's the simple technique. Go down to the brush tool. You'll also notice that I'm only working with one layer here. If I open up my layers panel, window layers, there's only one layer here. And there it is. So the simple method is going down to the brush tool, click and hold the brush tool. If you hit B on your keyboard, it'll jump to the brush tool, but I'm not going to use the brush tool itself. I'm going to click and hold the brush tool and go down to the color replacement tool. You see it looks like this. That's the little icon right here. Whenever you're working with this tool, make sure you remember you're on the color replacement tool, not just the regular brush tool. I'm also going to go to image mode and make sure you're in RGB or CMYK color. If it's in grayscale color mode or a different color mode, it will not work like you want it. So RGB or CMYK, I'm going to change it to CMYK. That's more for print. RGB is more for web. Up here at the top, you'll also see tolerance, contiguous, and some other things. I think the tolerance is set by default at 30. I'm just going to start it right there and show you what that does. So I'm going to zoom into the eyes of this cat, and I'm going to change the colors right here. So right here, double click or single click actually, your foreground color. That's the top square down here at the bottom of your tools panel. That's one way you can change your color, by clicking that top square. And whatever's in that top square is going to be what paints. So you'll notice now the new color's red. If you scroll down, now the new color's blue, and so forth. So I'm going to pick kind of a blue color, dark blue or light blue color. Hit OK. So now I'm going to be painting that blue color you see down there, and I'm just going to go over the eyes like this. Make sure your size is set right. I have hardness set at 0. My size is 22, by the way. And you see it paints the eyes for the most part. If I go over to the other eye, click and drag, it kind of paints the eye for the most part. You'll notice though there's some areas of the eye that didn't get painted. Excuse me. Some areas it kind of didn't cover over completely. So for that, I'm actually going to go up to this top bar and adjust my tool settings. You see the setting is contiguous at 30%. And I apologize for that. It's 30%, and anti-alias is checked. Now, if you want it to be really powerful, you can uncheck anti-alias. I like to leave that checked because it kind of goes out of control sometimes. If you click tolerance, though, change that to 100%. It's really going to paint everything you want it to paint, most likely, depending on your image. So with tolerance at 100, I left it at contiguous. You can also play around discontiguous as well, but I left it contiguous. Just kind of click and drag over the eye again, click and drag over the other eye where it didn't paint. Might have to do it a couple times, and it will eventually paint the entire eye. Now, it doesn't really let you completely control the colors. As you see, this original color I chose is not the exact same color as what I painted the eye. It kind of blended the colors a little bit within this design. Now, if I paint too far down, kind of paint the face blue a little bit, I can actually switch to black or white and paint black or white, and it will act like an eraser and just erase the colors. It's not really going to erase your image, just the colors. So that's black, and if you switch to white, it'll actually be a little bit lighter, I guess. So that's probably more what I want in there. So that's the first way to adjust a color. Go to the color replacement tool. Go to the color replacement tool, pick a color, and you just start painting. Now, if I pick red, you see that it doesn't really paint red. It kind of paints a peach color on my image, and it is permanent once you do this. It's no way of really going back unless I go back and paint black or paint white in the image. So I'm going to do edit step backwards. I'm going to show you the more advanced method now to adjust the image. in the layers panel, that's window layers once again, I'm going to go down here and I'm going to actually make a new layer. This is going to be strictly a color layer. So I'm going to click the little flyout menu right here in the corner, upper right corner, and choose new layer. Or you can go down to this little icon right here beside this little trash can, click that, and it adds a new layer. And on that new layer, I'm going to name that layer. I'm going to kind of double click the text and name that layer eyes. Okay, I'm going to redo the eyes for this. And so with that layer still selected, I'm going to go back and change to my regular brush tool. So for this technique, it's a little bit more powerful. I'm going to go straight to my regular brush tool. And so my regular brush tool selected, I'm going to change the color. Let's try green this time. Paint the eyes green and hit OK. And now I'm just going to kind of zoom in just a little bit and start painting the eyes here. And you see when I paint the eyes, it's like painting with a crayon. It doesn't look quite right. It doesn't look normal, right? You'll notice in the layers panel, it says the word normal, even though that doesn't look normal. If you click the word normal, it gives you a list of blending modes. And you'll notice down here, there is a color blending mode. In fact, that color blending mode does the same thing as the color replacement tool. So if you click that, you'll see that the eye changes the color. So that's strictly to change the color. Now, this gives you a lot more options than the color replacement tool though. You can use this to darken. That's what darken looks like. You can use it to multiply, lighten, screen, overlay, tons of other options you can play around with here. So you can play around with this to get the color you want. It might be a little bit more like what you're aiming for, and you can go ahead and paint the other eye or paint whatever else you want on that particular layer. Now if you paint too far with this, you can go to the eraser tool, hit E for eraser, and you can simply erase that area. It's not going to erase your image unless you're on the image layer. So notice I just clicked off the background layer, so I'm not on the background layer anymore. I'm actually on this painted eyes layer, and I can erase just that color right there. And go back to the brush tool and I can paint it back in as I wish. So that lets you see just the color by clicking the little eyeball beside the background layer. So I can do that. I can keep painting on that particular layer as much as I want. I could go down here and I could paint some green down here, and I could keep painting like that, or I can make another new layer and I can name this layer whatever I want. I can call this, let's call this fur. I'll paint that white fur a color. And so if you go in here and you choose a color, I'll choose red again just to show you what that color does. That same bright red. If I paint the bright red color, obviously I haven't changed my blending mode yet, so I need to change that. Let's try overlay. You'll notice it gives you a different effect than the color blending mode. Slightly different, and you can change it to darken, and it's a little bit more of a red color. So depending on what you're doing, this might be more fitting. It definitely gives you more power and control over the colors that you're changing. Now there's one more thing you can do with this actually in conjunction with adjusting the color blending mode, is you can actually adjust the opacity of the entire layer. So to do that, I'll just kind of finish this up here, this little area. Right down here you'll see beside where it says darken now, or where it used to say normal, you'll see that it says opacity. And so this is the opacity for the entire layer, the fur layer. If I change that to go down, it makes the fur color not quite as red. In fact, if I go to 0, it does no color. So you can make it just have a kind of a tinge of that orange or that red color actually, and you're actually got some color, but not quite as powerful as it once was. So now it's darkening at 19% for this bright red color, and just kind of giving it a little bit of an orangish feel, I guess, more of a peach feel to the image. So you can adjust it from there as well. Now you probably want to zoom in so you don't hit the eyes again, because I'm blending colors on colors and kind of makes it a little weird. But you can play around with that. The neat thing is, if you mess up, you can always turn it off, or you can always redo it. Use the eraser tool or change the colors around. You can also hide the background colors and be able to see those different colors that you painted. That's pretty bad. You look at it like that. So as you see, that's a lot more powerful of an adjustment than just using the color blending tool, color replacement tool. In fact, you can keep adding new layers, or what you could actually do is I could actually duplicate this fur layer. I could click on the fur layer, click on the flop menu, choose duplicate layer, and I'll just hit OK. That actually made 2 copies, so it actually intensified the fur layer blending, or I can change it to a different type of blending mode. That's overlay, there's hard light, and so forth, until I get exactly the color I want. In fact, you can almost reverse out that color, so by doing exclusion or subtract, and it will actually make that color the opposite of what you painted it. So there's a lot more options by doing this, and so you can really build a deep set of colors, deep set of tones in an image by using the layers panel in conjunction with the brush tool, or by simply using the color replacement tool on a single layer to add or adjust colors in a Photoshop image.